This video, I don't want to call it a follow-up video to the Jameis Winston video we did this morning, but it's kind of indirectly linked. And by the way, I apologize about this morning. I don't know how I came across to you guys, but when I was prepping, when I was recording, I couldn't get into my normal rhythm. My schedule has been so thrown off today. I have felt rushed all day, especially this morning. I just didn't feel like I was at my best earlier. So I apologize about that. But anyway, I left this portion out of the video this morning about Jameis Winston because I knew we were going to talk about it this afternoon. Through no fault of his own, Jameis Winston has been indirectly linked to this Brett Favre story, which the mainstream media is once again spinning into a case of mythical racism. That damn media, they're some tricksters. They're always inventing new tricks. The mainstream media, they're kind of like magicians. You see a magic trick once, it's surprising. You're amazed by the magician's skills. You see it twice, your level of amazement drops just a little bit. 3, 4, 5 times you see the trick, it starts losing its appeal. In the case of the mainstream media, they have used the same mythical racism trick so many times that when they cry racism now, no one believes them. So, they've come up with a new trick. They are painting Brett Favre with the mythical racism brush, while also claiming at the same time that no one in the media is talking about Brett Favre because of his white privilege. A lot of this bullshit started last week with an article written by the virgin of all virgins, the balding bullshitter, the founder of fake racism, the male identifier who makes side money on OnlyFans, selling videos of himself being a wanker spanker. The Carron of all Karens. I'm talking, of course, about Carron Philips at Deadspin. Oh, Deadspin. Oh, Deadspin. Never has an outlet been so properly named. Deadspin is where mainstream media careers go to die. If you don't believe me, just ask Rob Parker. Last Friday, while teaching his graduate level course, White Privilege is the Biggest Threat to Butt Bongo, Carron Philips complained about the lack of mainstream media coverage concerning Brett Favre. Now, for those of you that don't know, Brett Favre, he is involved in some type of welfare scandal in Mississippi. I'm not all that familiar with the case. I know it involves millions of dollars being diverted from state welfare programs with the money going into the pockets of maybe crooked politicians and possibly Brett Favre to build some volleyball complex. Deadspin, they were complaining about the lack of mainstream media coverage. This is something that should be aired around the clock on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and ESPN. What? Aired around the clock? This story? First of all, each one of those media outlets listed had picked up the story. So it's not like this Brett Favre scandal is being ignored. Second, if you're a program director or a producer in cable news, why in the fuck would you waste your time talking about Brett Favre? I'm 2, 3, maybe 4 hours away from where Brett Favre was born. This dude is a legend down here in the South. I can't even find interest in this story. From the little bit I've read about it, the governor of Mississippi colluded with Brett Favre to divert money from welfare into funding some volleyball sports complex that could possibly benefit his daughter and other white kids. Who fucking cares? Should the legal system handle it? Yeah, they should. Maybe an ethics committee or some investigation should take place. Yes, I think the FBI is actually investigating. But in terms of a media story, especially something qualified for round-the-clock coverage, this ain't it. Deadspin tried to compare the public and media reaction to Michael Vick to the so-called underreaction to Brett Favre. All Michael Vick did was torture and kill dogs. Brett Favre stole money from bums. These are real people. These people are completely reliant on welfare. 30-year-old Bernard doesn't have the ability to go to work. He can't walk, for God's sakes. His ass is sore from all that ass sitting. He needs that welfare money that Brett Favre stole for rich white kids. All kidding aside, I'm sure some of these people receiving welfare really deserve it and really need it. But let's be real here. And this is something that you're not going to hear from these shit fucks in the mainstream media. All these self-righteous people calling out Brett Favre while at the same time complaining about him being given a pass because of white privilege. The welfare system in this country is a complete joke. It's a scam. We have generations of families of all races that have been milking this corrupt system for decades. So it's understandable in a way why the public outrage isn't as strong against Brett Favre as it was against Michael Vick. Of course, the media focused on the Michael Vick story. That story had all the ingredients for the media to make money. Scandalous, perfect victims, and more importantly, relevance. Michael Vick was in the prime of his NFL career when he was busted for dogfighting. Brett Favre has been retired for over a fucking decade. The only time he generates headlines is when he says something that triggers the offendables on Twitter. Now, Deadspin, that is not the only media outlet claiming the media is ignoring Brett Favre. And I can't believe I just said that out loud. Do you see how twisted, how fucked up the logic is with these people? Here we have a case of the media complaining that the media is guilty of mythical racism and white privilege. When they go to woke court, who is the prosecutor and who is the defendant? Better yet, who's the judge? Is it going to be RG3? Last week, he nominated himself to at least be the prosecutor. According to RG3, if you are more upset about Ime Udoka than you are about Brett Favre, you're part of the problem. But it's strange. He never explained what the problem is. What problem are we talking about, Robbie? Are we talking about the problem of white privilege? Please explain to me the white privilege in this situation. If Brett Favre had white privilege, no one would know about this scandal. According to the mainstream media, when us white people get ourselves into trouble, we use our powerful skin to escape the situation. Is Brett Favre's skin less powerful than that of normal white people? Because he sure doesn't seem to be escaping scrutiny to me. RG3, he might have nominated himself to be the prosecutor, but there's only one man who can be the judge. Oh, this man is an expert in mythical racism. There's actually a statue outside of Woke U crafted after his massive forehead. Every morning, before aspiring shitfucks head to the indoctrination center, they kneel by this statue and sing praises to the forehead. I'm bringing foreheads back. Yeah, them smaller foreheads don't know how to act. Yeah, I see your bongo better watch your back. Yeah, I've got my cucumber prepped to attack. Yeah, I'm talking, of course, about Stephen A. Smith. Last Thursday on Woke Take, a full 24 hours before Deadspin claimed ESPN wasn't covering the story, the founder of Forehead Fellatio criticized his fellow shitfucks for their supposed lack of coverage on the Brett Favre scandal. Watch for yourself.
But nevertheless, it's been talked about by the Washington Post. It's been talked about by numerous news organizations throughout this country. He is in the throes of all of this, and none of us have said a word. If that was a black man that was a former star in the National Football League with the relationships and the cachet that Brett Favre had, what would have been done to him? But somehow, some way, even though folks from the news angle might talk about it, nevertheless, people with strong opinions that are affiliated and connected with the NFL are conspicuously silent. Nah.
First of all, did you guys catch the double talk? Did you catch Stephen A. Smith talking out of both sides of his ass? I know it might have been tough. I know many of you probably passed out from the plethora of mouth farts in that clip. The founder of Forehead Fellatio admitted the story has been picked up by mainstream outlets like the New York Times, the Washington Post, and every other media outlet in the fucking country. Then, in the same sentence, he says, if this was a black man, what would be done to him? The same fucking thing? There is one thing that I will never take away from the mainstream media. When it comes to scandals, when it comes to controversial stories, they know that will generate clicks and revenue. The mainstream media does not discriminate. Doesn't matter if you're white, black, doesn't matter if you prefer old-fashioned sex or if you receive a monthly subscription to Preparation H. Doesn't matter. When it comes to scandalous stories, the media does not care who you are. They're going to report it. You can't accuse them of mythical racism. But who are these people that Stephen A. Smith is talking about that are conspicuously silent? He throws out an allegation, but once again, he doesn't specify who he's talking about. Is he talking about Adam Schefter? Because he's covering the story. Is he talking about Ian Rappaport? Is he talking about his brother in woke, Skippy Bebe, or his brother in bongo, Shay Shay Sharp? Who's he talking about? The mainstream media has run so short on the supply of mythical racism, they are literally having to create stories of racism involving themselves to have a woke talking point to talk about. Okay, now I'm about to shock you. When you think of shitfucks that we often target here on the channel, there's a handful of names that come to mind. The Wicked Wig of the Woke, Joy Reid. The Original Virgin, Keith Olbermann. America's Favorite Fruit, Don Lemon. The Elegance of Evil, Taylor Lorenz. These people are in a class of their own when it comes to shitfuckery. For the longest time, the leader of the class was Jemele Hill. Jemele Hill is the founder of the Mythical Racism program at Woke U. Now, I'm about to do something that, to my knowledge, I have never done before here on the channel. I am going to agree with a shitfuck. Check out this series of tweets from Jemele Hill about Brett Favre. I'm not even going to sit here and make fun of her. I'm going to keep calling her by her given name. Perhaps for the first time in history, we have a shitfuck being handed a case of mythical racism and disproving the media narrative with logic and reason. Read it for yourself. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Jemele Hill actually making valid points. I couldn't believe it. For a second this afternoon, I thought about downgrading the status of Jemele Hill from grade A shitfuck to practitioner of butt bongo. But one moment of lucidity doesn't erase a lifetime of stupidity. Now, I'm going to give you guys two reasons why public outcry to Brett Favre doesn't match public outcry to Michael Vick, Deshaun Watson, Ime Udoka, Jameis Winston, or any other scandal involving a black player or coach. Number one, the victims. Who are the victims in this Brett Favre situation? Well, KC, it's obvious the victims are welfare recipients. Oh, really? Really? Because I have yet to see or hear one welfare recipient complain that their money was decreased because of Brett Favre. If these allegations are true, no one is doubting that Brett Favre is wrong. But who did he hurt? Who did he hurt? With Michael Vick, you saw the victims. You saw the dogs. Deshaun Watson, same thing. Ray Rice. We had video of Ray Rice. We had evidence of the attack. It all made for a better media story. Number two, this Brett Favre story broke in the mainstream around the same time as the Ime Udoka scandal in Boston. Now, from a media perspective, what do you think the public is going to be more interested in consuming? A story about nepotism in Mississippi, a state no one gives a fuck about? A story about Brett Favre possibly receiving money allocated to bums? Or a current head coach in the NBA who just led his team to the NBA Finals, possibly cheating on his longtime girlfriend by having what the woke call old-fashioned sex with one of his employees? Which story is more interesting to you? All these other scandals the media references when they blame themselves for giving Brett Favre white privilege, all these other scandals involved active players and coaches. If Karl Malone had done the same thing as Brett Favre, it would be a blurb in page 6. Maybe. ESPN spends 5 minutes talking about it. This Brett Favre story, it was actually leaked nearly a month ago. We were talking about it at happy hour around week 1 of the NFL regular season. No one fucking cared until the media tied mythical racism and white privilege into it. All of a sudden, it's nationwide news. But let me know what you think. The mainstream media blaming themselves and then blaming us for supposedly giving Brett Favre a pass because of his white privilege. Even though no one's defending him. Even though every fucking media outlet in the country is covering the story. Somehow, this is still a case of white privilege. Give me your thoughts. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys tomorrow.